Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Everybody, thumbs up. If you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Love it. Okay, we've already got about 20 people on this. I love that. Okay, so we're going to be talking. Can you guys hear me now? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about today is mortgage fraud, wire fraud, how we can protect ourselves, and the things that WFT National Title is doing to implement to make sure that you guys have a safe, secure transaction with peace of mind, whether it's a refinance or a mortgage purchase transaction. I think the thing that's important to understand is what title does. Title issues clear title so that when you buy a property or you refinance a property, that lender's in first position. Now, how do we guarantee that? We guarantee that by making sure there's no liens, judgments, or encumbrances in front of that deed of trust when we close the transaction. Now, how can wire fraud take place? That's when somebody can spoof your email or do something and they can take the money that you've hard earned and ship that money offshore. So we're going to show you guys a video right now of something that actually took place within our company and how prevalent wire fraud is and what our solution was to it. So we're going to show that video right now, and then after that, we'll start going into the wire fraud more in depth. So Joe, if you can show the video, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I was halfway between work and Clackamas going to deliver some parts, driving the shop truck, and got a call that said they were ready to send me some wire instructions. And I told the nice lady on the phone that I'd already taken care of that about a week ago. And she said, "Oh, that's wonderful." And then she started looking into it and says, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And so, "Yeah, well, did you send me the email?" Or I sent it to her, and she instantly says, "Oh my goodness, this isn't us." And after leaving the bank and talking to the title company and realizing that this happens all the time and that I was kind of on my own and that they were sorry, but they can't, protect everybody from this if we're not paying attention. That was the worst feeling in the world, knowing that I had to go home and tell my wife that, stop packing the stuff. I know we have already sold our house, but now we're not getting our other house because I don't have any money left. I sit down and I'm never had anything where you can't come up with the words. Like I'm trying to spit it out and I'm telling her like, okay, I'm just gonna spit this out. And I still can't come up with the words. And I just felt like I was gonna get sick. I mean, it's just the most gut-wrenching feeling you've ever had in your life. And then I tell her, and obviously you have that second of, haha, you're kidding, right? Real funny, but, and then she just fell apart.
It'll never happen to you. Never, until it does. And generally when it does, it's brutal. It is disastrous.
I think there was a little bit of Aaron who was upset with himself, that he fell victim to this. He was upset with us because he thought, well, why didn't you protect me? If I put myself in our shoes, it's look at the big signature line with the big flashing red exclamation point and this disclosure, but I live this every day. I'm fully aware of it. He's not. Aaron Cole and his family, they're a victim of a crime.
Mine was actually less than what they get on average when they get somebody. That's insane. Can you imagine if you had $130,000 in cash sitting in your hand and, someone walked off with it, stuff you spend your entire life trying to save to be able to buy a house or send your kids to school.
When we sat down and looked at our options, what we really realized is there was a chance for us to help Aaron and his family and at the same time be able to help so many other families from going through what he went through. Wire fraud has been happening in our industry, for years. We've all been trying to figure it out, and yet we're the first company putting a face and a cautionary tale to it by hiring, one of the victims as a spokesperson.
When Justin confronted me with this idea, I was not just excited. I thought, wow, this is genius, because this really helps this young man and his family, also helps us equally.
WFG called and offered me a different idea of a way to try and make this whole and work together. And instead of pointing fingers at each other, we try and get this resolved, get us in a house in time for Christmas, and try and help some other people.
We're trying to get this message to resonate with people, not just be a theoretical problem.
And they've asked, what could they have done to have gotten me to read it? And I was like, I don't think you could honestly make the letters any bigger. I don't think there's a brighter color than the red you use. And it's right at the beginning. It's huge. But the signature line's way down here, so you just scroll. Just get down there and sign it. It's like I never even saw it.
What generally happens is someone's email account has been compromised. Typically, it's a free email account, Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, whatever it is. So they're looking at your emails for a long time. There's scripts that will look at every email that comes into that email account, and they will key on keywords, transaction, closing. And then it will notify them that, hey, an email about this came up. And then they start seeing, the transaction, and they say, well, who are all the parties?
I'd sent probably 150 emails back and forth, and then I get another one, and it looks exactly the same as what I've been doing. If it looks like it comes from the same place, the only difference is they change an email address slightly, so you can't tell. They actually put the real phone numbers of the people that they were impersonating at the title company in their signatures, of course. So if I had picked up the phone and called the number for the lady that they were impersonating, she would have known instantly that she didn't send me that.
This is a social engineering attack, right? It's a sudden change. It's a sense of urgency, and there's a consequence. And if you have those three things together, you should stop.
The fact that we did get this fixed, is miraculous, because there are so many people who don't. We're not the only ones who have kids and who have worked hard for this stuff their entire lives, and to actually have lost that money and have it be gone, I cannot imagine what I would be feeling like right now. So when it comes down to doing anything serious like moving money, go see someone in person, go pick up the phone, you just have to slow down and make sure that you know what you're doing is what you want to do.
Okay, if we can turn that off, Joey. Okay, so if we can go to the next screen, Joey. Okay, so everybody can hear me, correct? So we're going to be talking about right now is protecting your data against phone fraud. So phone fraud is an even bigger threat than before. So if we can scroll up a little bit on that, Joey, please. So what's happening now is criminals are using our artificial intelligence to impersonate voices, meaning the person on the phone may not be who you think. So here's a good example of why it's so important with us. When we do our wire instructions to you, we will always instruct you to call us. And we have a very specific email and a very specific thing on how we do our wire instructions. So when somebody's calling you, you got to make sure you have the right phone numbers and everything else that takes place. So if we can scroll up a little bit more where it says Foster's, offer and impersonated company senior staff members. So you're going to ask for a specific person, any title company you're doing business with or escrow. You want to make sure you're dealing with that person directly, okay? Super important. So when you're dealing with anybody, whether it's us, any title company, you want to make sure that the data you're giving them is you're talking to somebody specifically of who you know within that title company. So let's go to the next screen, please. Okay, so if we can blow that up a little bit. Wire fraud schemes. Everyday hackers are trying to steal your money. I think the most important thing to remember from this email is the fact that your free emails account and I'm going to have my technology marketing director, Stacy, talk about this at the end of the meeting. Your Gmails, your Hotmails, everything else, you have to be very, very careful on how to work with these, because that's the easiest thing for a hacker to steal. And if you looked on the prior video, all they do is they take your Gmail and they put @mail. Did you see that? And it's really simple for you guys to not pay attention to that. So when your clients are sending money in, there's two ways to send money. You can send money directly to escrow or directly to title. Now, when escrow gets the money, they're going to wire the funds to us. Here's an inside tip for you guys. A lot of lenders and investors want to send money directly to title only. And why would that be? Because now you're only dealing with one wire transfer. So understand, if your investor, if your bank wants to send money directly to title, we're completely fine with that. We have no problem with that. If you can scroll that down a little bit further, please, Joey. So where it says call, don't email, we will always call. You always have to call us to talk to us so we can do this transaction. Super, super important, okay? So we can go to the next screen, Joey. Wire fraud checklist. If every single one of you on a real estate transaction, whether it's a purchase or a refi, can have your clients look at this, this is going to help you so much. Don't send sensitive information via email, ever. Always call, don't email. Make sure you got a person on the phone. We will always confirm your wire instructions by phone using a phone number and a no number before transferring funds. This is so imperative that you guys do this every time you're in. This would be a checklist for you to give your buyers and sellers during the course of escrow. We will never email wire instructions to you nor change the WFG account information after it's provided to you by our staff. That's key. Once it's been provided to you, we will not change it. Keep your email account clean. Remove any stale messages. Hackers watch your business patterns and use this information against you. So people I know that have emails, they have 5,000 emails in their inbox. That's not a good thing. You should be cleaning out your emails on a daily, worst case, weekly basis and putting them into folders. Because if you have folders, you can find out where emails are going and put them in folders so you know where it's at. If you're leaving 2,000 to 3,000 emails in your inbox, it's just a great way for a hacker to get in there and start digging into you and find out what's going on. So I'm always a huge person to say, clean your emails up on a daily basis, weekly basis at the worst. And explain to your clients why I need to do that as well. Next thing, ask your bank to confirm the name on the account before sending a wire. Always ask that. And if anybody's dealing with a credit unions are a little bit different entity, because credit unions sometimes will have to go through a 2-layer process to wire the money. So when you're talking to a credit union, find out if they're holding a depository and then it's going to a different account. So credit union operates a little bit differently than a bank. So it's always good to ask those questions. Lastly, call your title company or real estate agent within 48 hours to confirm they have received your money. So I'm going to give you guys 2 key words today: federal tracking number and wire amount. Whenever anything is ever wired, you're going to have 2 things that take place. You're going to have a federal tracking number because the Federal Reserve does all the wires. The Federal Reserve is located in Washington, D.C., and every wire has a federal tracking number. That's how we track a wire that's coming in. So when your bank sends out a wire, you can ask for that federal tracking number so you have peace of mind that you know what's going on. And then also the wire amount, because wire amounts are never like $184,000. It can be like $184,000, 215 cents. Especially on a purchase transaction or refi, it's always kind of a funky number. It's never just a clean $200,000 number. So make sure you get those 2 things so you can track it as well. I would put this with your transaction for a buyer and seller at all times. Joey, do we have the screen that showed WFG's wire, what we actually put out? Do you have that one? What we actually show? Okay, so this is our company. I think this is really important for you guys to look at. This is our wire fraud video that goes out. WFG will never email wire instructions. Special instructions to access wire instructions with code emailed in separate email. How to access wire instructions dashboard. This is what we send to every single client. It tells them exactly what we're going to look for on a transaction so they can send the wire information to us. If your title company is not doing that, you need to be very careful. This is how strict this has to be nowadays. So whenever you're doing a transaction, you want to talk to the title company and say, hey, are you guys compliant? What are you guys doing to safeguard my clients during the course of a transaction so they have peace of mind? And the biggest reason why this is so important is if anything goes sideways, they're going to sue everybody. And I hate to bring up that word, but California is the most litigious state in the United States. And they're going to sue the listing agent, they're going to sue the buyer's agent, they're going to sue the title company, they're going to sue escrow, they're going to sue everything else. So if you have all your ducks in a row and you say, look, here's the wire instructions we sent you, you need to follow them. If you have any questions at all, please call the title company directly and we'll walk you through it. We will always be there for the consumer to protect them. Like the video brought up, wire fraud now is 1.5 billion. It'll be in excess of $2 billion this year of wire fraud that's going to take place in the United States. So it's something that's super prevalent. It's taking place more and more with the business as busy as it is right now at refinances and the purchase transaction being such a hot commodity. They're really preying on people. So a good example, the $123,000 that we lost, we hired the guy, we made him a spokesperson for us, and we've rectified a situation. It doesn't happen all the time. I know a title company in LA County this year that my personal friend, was a lender. He got spoofed for $2 million to an offshore account. So the title company had to pay $2 million that they lost because it was spoofed. So it isn't something that just happens every now and then. It happens quite a bit. So this dashboard we're showing you right now is really super important that you guys take a look at that and understand that. So from there, any Q&A, any questions in regards to wire fraud or what you guys continue to protect your clients? I'd love to answer those questions. If you want to take me off the screen and put me back live. Do we have any Q&A? Okay, I don't see any questions being answered. So I guess I did a really good job, or I was really boring, but I hope I was really good. But that's really it in a nutshell, is you have to make sure that you tell your clients how to access wire fraud so that they are protected, so they don't have wire fraud. I misspoke that, I apologize. So here's one thing to bring up in the back history. Wire fraud is new because back probably 10, 15 years ago, all the escrow companies had what were called escrow drafts. And it was basically escrow checks from every title company inside an escrow branch. And they could sit there and they could write the check and they would just send it to us. Well, during the financial crisis of 2008, a lot of escrow companies embezzled those escrow drafts and they disappeared. So there's no more escrow drafts anywhere in the United States. Everything is done via wire. So that's why it's so important that your clients understand how a wire transaction works and then how they get the wire transaction sent. So again, it can go directly from escrow to title, or it can go from the client directly to title. And again, I bring that up quite a bit because a lot of clients feel much more secure in sending their money directly to title. So make sure they have that option. It just takes away one more layer. Because when escrow gets the funds, all they do is they're going to wire it directly to title anyways. So I always suggest that you just send the money to title and then we'll disperse the funds. Because our A&O and our insurance is much higher than the average escrow company that's out there. So I hope that answers your questions. Any questions at all from anybody on this at all? I know Claudia's on there, super sharp lady. Anything that I am missing that you would like to say?
The thing that, hi everyone, good morning.
Yes.
Just wanted to add that I'm getting a lot of the wire instruction proceeds forms. I'm getting screenshots of them to my cell phone, which is also very, very dangerous because you're sending it to my personal information, my personal cell phone, and it needs to go, I need to have the original. And I get a lot of pushback from agents and clients. Why am I verifying again? We have to verify. So that's what I wanted to add.
Can I ask you a question, Claudia? Because you are an escrow officer, you're on the call, and I do appreciate your time. Do you mind if a client or if they want to fund directly to title? That's okay with you, right?
That's fine with me.
It's actually easier for you?
I mean, it's not easier because now we have to go back and forth and balance the file. But I mean, either way, whatever's convenient for the client.
Okay. And again, safeguarding and asking these verification questions is super important. That's why we're asking them. Thank you for your time, Claudia. I do appreciate you. I know you're very busy. And I have Stacy on the phone. Stacy's our technology marketing director. And Stacy is a contributing editor to Inman. She's going to be on the Inman stage this week. She's just a phenomenal lady. So in dealing with social media and everything else, Stacy, what do you think would be the biggest pitfall you see with the general public in regards to safeguarding themselves in regards to wire fraud? And what could be a couple suggestions you would give people on this call today to say, hey, look, how can we be safe to make sure our transactions safe and we have peace of mind and we're not giving out information we shouldn't be giving, especially with the emails?
Right. Well, those are really great questions, Robert. And, Claudia, you made a really, really solid point because sometimes when people have the best of intentions by, sending that screenshot and just trying to be, do what they think is best for their customer, it ends up being the worst possible thing for their customer, because the reality is that anytime we send something to a place that's not secured, we put that data at risk. And our personal, any of us, our phones, our social media, anything that we dialogue, they are all much, much, much more likely to be infiltrated. In fact, one of the things I would really encourage all of you to really look out for, because this is the kind of thing that can get anyone, even the most savvy professional who works in tech, is you get that email from somebody that you trust, that normally would send you something that has a link or something. And so you don't think anything of it and you follow the path, right? More than ever, even if it's from somebody that you would normally trust and normally might send you a link of some sort, I never, ever, 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 ever click on anything. And I will literally pick up the phone or text and say, hey, did you just send me something with a link? And if they say, yeah, I'm like, what was it? To make sure that it was the thing. It sounds like a lot of extra work, but I'll tell you what, it has saved a time or two where they're like, no, I didn't send you anything. And if I would have just went through the process, I could have put my entire network at risk. And I know I've seen some really savvy and smart industry professionals who've got caught in that loop, and they will tell you that they were devastated. So the other thing, one more thing, because Robert, you made this mention, you can also get hacked through your social. Okay. So what I mean by that, have you ever been on Facebook checking whatever, and then you might get a message from someone that you also know, and it says, hey, I just saw this thing about you, or hey, such and such sent me this thing about you. You might want to see it. And you're like, what, who said what about me? And click. And then now they've got a way to kind of back into your data, your personal data, and they can track that. So, there's so many ways that they can, the bad guys and gals can get in there and track information. So the more mindful we are and extra cautious, at the end of the day, your clients will thank you for your due diligence. So those are great questions. Robert and Claudia, thanks for sharing. That was a really great point.
And I think the most important thing that Stacy brought up is, if you don't know, don't open. Our company, we send out spoof emails all the time. And the best one ever was, they had a picture of a pretty lady for Halloween, and they said, oh, who won the Halloween contest? Well, guess what? 90% of the people opened it up because they wanted to see the pretty lady. But it was a fish email they set us up with. So if it looks too good to be true, it usually is true. So we have another question, and I'm going to have Claudia help me with this. Olivia is asking, to avoid it, can we just tell the clients to buy a cashier's check and tell them to take it directly to escrow? I still think wiring is better, but Claudia, you want to expound upon that?
I mean, nowadays we want, to fund everything immediately. So with wires, it can be done that way. With cashier's checks, we still have to deposit it into our bank, even though we have remote capture here where we can instantly deposit into our account, but still we want to make sure that we clear those funds. So the fastest way is going to be wire. And
yes. So great question, Livia, but I would agree with Claudia as well. A wire transaction is always going to be faster. And even with the cashier's checks, we've had a time where the cashier's check has now actually been good. Somebody's stopped it, something's happened. So wire is always going to be the better way to go. And again, it's just basically communication with you, your escrow officer, your title officer, making sure that you have the funds, that everything's been done correctly, you follow the instructions. And if anything looks off, just stop. Take that step back and say, okay, whoa, this looks a little bit different. If you get an email out of the blue, it's probably not correct. So I hope that answers your questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I see people on here. Everybody's being quiet, but I'm going to see if I can pick on anybody here. Laura Navarro, do you have any questions? I don't know if she's on there. Jose Estrada. How about Yolanda? Do you have a question, Yolanda?
No, thank you, Robert. Great presentation. I just want to let everybody know it not just happens right between escrow and title, but it can happen in the beginning of a transaction. And it happened to my husband and I. We were selling a property, and the buyer's deposit, here we are just in the beginning of a sales transaction. And the transaction coordinator's email was hacked and told the buyer to wire, and the buyer wired it to a bank in New York. By the time we found out what happened, that bank account in New York was already shut down, and the buyer was out $7,000. So, and this was the beginning of a transaction. So again, just check. Everybody should just check those emails. I know sometimes we're so busy or we're tired and everything, the emails all look the same, but it's really, really important. And then once you wire, you have to let your clients know, then follow up immediately with the phone call and make sure, okay, did you receive, or call escrow, did you receive my wire? Because time was of the essence. Had we notified or had we known about this, we could have caught it in time, and the police and the bank, they could have shut that account down and froze it. By the time we found out, it was too late. They had already got the money and closed the account. So time is of the essence.
Wow, I totally appreciate the honesty, Yolanda. I did not know that story, but that's huge. And again, I'm going to harken back to Claudia because you're here on the call. So if they're doing the EMD and you got a TC involved, Claudia, what are your suggestions on that? Because that's the first time I've ever heard that happen, and I admire your experience. So title's not even involved yet. That's really on you guys.
That's the beginning.
Yeah.
Fortunately, lately, like Keller Williams, there's a couple companies that don't even want me to send my initial, wire instructions to them. They don't even want to be involved in that part of the, email transaction. So my email instructions do not have my account number on them. So they have to pick up the phone and call me and specifically talk to me, not anyone else, so I can give them the account number. So
Okay.
that's very important too, to leave information off. That way they have to pick up the phone.
Yolanda, that's a great tip, and Claudia, it's a great answer. So when somebody has an EMD, if they're going to wire, they got to talk to you directly. If not, they could bring a cashier's check in for that as well.
That's fine.
But okay, so that's huge. I never even thought about that. That is such a great idea. And Yolanda, thank you so much for bringing that up, because I'd never heard that before. So I'm sure that's not the first time it's happened. But okay, guys, well, it's 10:30. Is there any other questions? Because if there's not, I know everybody's busy and they got stuff to do. I want to say thank you to Jeanette Bauman and to Joey Salinas from the Downey Association of Realtors for allowing me to do this presentation today. I'm very grateful for their time. I'm very grateful to all the realtors that came on this today. Hope we provided some value to you. And I want to say thank you to all the people that asked questions, and to Stacy for joining me. I know Stacy's very busy, so I do appreciate you. To Claudia, thank you so much. I know you're super busy. It's always great to have your escrow knowledge on here. And just want to say thank you, guys. And please remember WFT National Title on your next transaction. Any questions, please feel free to give us a call. Oh, one last question. What happens when the client wire is scanned and the transaction to purchase stops it into clear? I'm not sure I understand what that means. What happens when client wire is scanned, the transaction to purchase stop it into clear? Livia, do you want to talk? Because I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. Can you read that, Claudia? Do you know what she's trying to say?
No, I'm not sure either. What happens when client wire is scanned? The transaction purchases stop.
I'm not exactly sure what she means by that. Livy, do you want to talk? Because I'm not sure I'm understanding that. Okay, well, Livia, if you have a question, you can contact me or Claudia directly. And everybody's got a busy day ahead of them. I don't want to keep you guys all day. But thank you so much for your time. Again, thank you, the Downey Board, for allowing us to do this presentation today. Make 2021 your best year ever, and have an awesome day. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.